extensions. What's your reaction to that, and why is he the guy that you guys want to commit the future to?
Well, it's positive news. You know, it gives him security, gives us an idea of who we have in the fold. It takes a lot of pressure off him, I think. Throughout the season, just kind of thinking about it, dwelling on it. You can put that to bed and play. So I think, he can play now with a clear head. He's not concerned about, maybe the immediate future. But we look at him as a, foundational piece, a guy we can move forward with. And we have a lot of confidence in his ability. We expect a lot. And I think, his potential will have to kind of dive in there and see what he's got. But I think it's untapped.
What makes you think that he can tap into that potential? Are there certain intangibles or traits that you see where it's like this guy's going to keep getting better?
I've seen it within, the last month and a half, 2 months, but also, from the film I watched prior to getting the job. He's a better player. He's 23, so, he's still got to grow into his own and figure out his own game. But he's shown incremental steps thus far, which are positive. So it's exciting to see his development. And, I think it's an opportunity for him to grow.
And what is the plan at this point for Rui? I mean, you guys are obviously leaving town. Will there be coaches staying back to work with him? Or is there anything like that in the works?
Yeah, he'll have individual workout times. He'll remain here and get that in, get his conditioning in. So it's still, there's no timetable. So we'll see how he progresses, and then slowly implement him as best we can.
Wes, obviously, we asked you about Brad's vaccination status earlier. You said, kind of used to dealing with all that stuff. And going to Canada, how do you guys approach? I know he's pretty much just got to stick to hotel, venue, or bus. Does that change anything with how you would otherwise run a road trip?
No, it just affects him directly. But we've been through this, and down the road with this, with protocols, not just here, but every team has. So we'll follow the guidelines. Obviously each jurisdiction has their own rules, so we'll have to abide by those. But as far as it applies to us as a group, it's a business trip, and we'll treat it as such. Everybody went. No issues. No.
When we were asking you about Danny, she's asking you not, but just in terms of him and his readiness, in terms of the things that you're talking about, all the young players with communication, where does he kind of stand on those kind of intangible factors, or more less on court stuff?
Well, it fluctuates, and I think that's the mark once again of a young player. Some days he's really dialed in, and he's got it. You feel like he's on the same page. Other days he looks a little lost. I just think that's just the natural maturation a young player has to go through. For him, it's stay in the moment. I think sometimes he gets so obsessed with what he perceives as a past failure that it affects his next shot, affects the next play. So no, you can't bypass that. You got to learn from those mistakes, but you can't dwell on it. And I think it's important for him to understand you have to have that next shot mentality. If there's a problem, understand what the problem is, fix it, and move on.
Just wondering, ahead of the opener, what you guys worked on today.
A lot of it was a mental day. Didn't do a lot of up and down, not a lot of competitive stuff. Ironing out our script, the details of the script, touching on some things we may see tomorrow offensively. We had another good session, is just a quiet drill where coaches can't say a word, and players, you have to talk us through all these situations. What are we doing? What's the responsibility? So just kind of fine tuning some of the things we've harped on, throughout preseason.
And you feel like there's been improvement in the communication aspect?
Oh, no doubt. It's not perfect, but every practice seems to get a little tighter. Every game's been better. Just the challenge is doing it for longer stretches.
All right, Coach, let's move over to Zoom. Neil.
Hey, Coach, obviously last, few preseason games, you've had Brad in there as primary ball handler. Denny was also in there. You said you wanted to put him in, different opportunities, different roles. How have you seen him, adjust in those roles, as a secondary ball handler?
I don't see it more as an adjustment. I think, he's got the capability to be a playmaker. He can go get his own whenever he wants. That's obvious. But to move him around, just so he understands that, all 5 spots on the floor. And I think that gives us the flexibility to move guys around within the offense. So we're not running a separate play. We're just, changing up who's involved and who starts the offense versus who's the recipient. It just gives the guys a better understanding of all 5 guys and their responsibilities in that action.
And I don't think we've asked you a lot about your coaching staff that you put together around you. Who is your, go-to offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator? Is, Coach Blair your main guy that's working with the big guys, or how do all their different roles spread out?
Well, the staff and the way it was constructed, I wanted to put people around me who could obviously augment my deficiencies. I didn't want to thrust all the defensive stuff on one person, but that'll be spearheaded for the most part by Pat Delaney and Mike Miller. So just kind of pairing those 2 guys up, and their input helps me just kind of where we are, where we need to be, what's missing. On the flip side, pairing Joseph Blair and Zach Guthrie on the offensive end. So I don't want to peg them necessarily as offensive, defensive coordinators, but those 2 areas are kind of their realm, and they'll help me, in those areas.
Thanks, Coach.
Christos.
Hello, Coach. Hope you're doing well. How you vision Danny Avila's role this season, and what impressed you most so far in this preparation?
Well, he's going to have a bigger role. I want to see his minutes, see an uptick. I want him to be able to play late game situations, if necessary, but he's not there yet. So he's going to have to earn those minutes, and nothing is given. And I think he's well on his way to doing that. But I want to see him get out of his box a little bit. He came in as a shot maker, playmaker, didn't get an opportunity to do so much last season. So get him the ball, see where he can help us. Obviously as the offense breaks down and ball's moving, I think that the fact that we put so much shooting on the floor generates those long closeouts. So now it gives him an opportunity to put the ball on the floor once again, attack the paint, draw the defense, and then make the right plays. I've seen him do it in practices and drills. I think right now he gets a little frustrated with, the shots aren't falling, but that's okay. He's taking the right types of shots. He's trying to make the right reads, and defensively he's getting better. So we have a lot of confidence in Danny, and I want him to have as much confidence in himself as we do in him.
And what kind of flexibility you have as a team with Danny on the floor, Montrezl, and Burton?
Well, it gives us a lot of flexibility. Aside from those guys, honestly, we could play 11 deep. And that's tough to do in a 48-minute window, but if necessary, we can do that. And I think we've shown throughout the preseason those little stretches where, whether it's the second group, the first group, or combination of the 2, our guys are starting to figure each other out. It's obviously it's go time. So we're going to lean on our heavy minute guys, but we've got a lot of depth and flexibility if necessary.
Okay, Maimon.
Did you say Maimon?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hello, Coach. Neil Maimon, Sport 5 Israel. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Last season, we saw a lot of time that Danny was quite open and he didn't get a lot of the ball. Did you going to use him differently? And if I can ask, which position do you think that Danny is the most effective?
Yes, definitely plan on using him, a little bit more. I think with our spacing, you got Trez, you got Gaff rolling, spreads teams out. That'll open up a lot of open shots for him as well as others. But he can play off the bounce, play a secondary ball handler. He's a dynamic pick and roll player. I didn't think he got the opportunity to do that a whole lot last season. So he'll get that chance. I think it's important for him to grow, expand his game a little bit. And he's just got to play with a little bit more confidence, bottom line.
What do you say? What do you think about his character? Because he just came back from a long injury. Do you think that he has the right thing to, take Washington Wizards forward?
Oh, absolutely. He's a tough-minded kid. Once again, he puts probably more pressure on himself than he should, because I think he really wants to be good. And he gets down on himself at times, but, I think that's his competitive spirit. So I applaud his efforts. He's worked through a lot over the summer, had a little setback in September. So he had to put a little extra time in, coming into training camp a little behind. So he's playing catch up at this point. But you know what? I can't say anything negative about his effort, his energy, and even after practice, he's asking questions. He's pulling guys aside. He wants to do extra script. So it's important to him. It matters to him, and I can't say enough about his character, his demeanor,